So finally I just took
All right.
the copy. It's like,
I will call you once we're done. Thank you so much. Okay, you're good.
We are live?
Yes.
You're live.
Excellent. New York State Racing, Parimutuel Wagering and Breeding Law, Section 109A, provides that the Gaming Facility Location Board shall consist of 5 members appointed by the New York State Gaming Commission. The statute further specifies that the board will be able to undertake its assignments upon the seating of 3 members. 3 members having been appointed to by the Gaming Commission affords the board an ability to establish a quorum and undertake action. This present meeting of the board is now called to order. Establishment of a quorum requires 3 members being present. Please indicate presence when your name is called. Paul Francis.
Present.
Stuart Rabinowitz.
Virtually present.
William C. Thompson, Jr.
Present.
The record will reflect that a quorum of qualified members is present, thus enabling transaction of business. Mr. Rabinowitz joins us remotely from a properly noticed and open remote meeting location. The record shall note that there is bilateral visual and oral communication between Mr. Rabinowitz and the members here in Manhattan.
Just one thing before you continue. I think it's good, since we're now being streamed, is if you identify yourself.
Oh, I apologize. My name is Robert Williams. I'm the acting executive director of the Gaming Commission, and I've been detailed in some certain circumstances to assist you at the Gaming Facility Location Board. Next to me.
I'm Edmund Burns, General Counsel of the New York State Gaming Commission, and also, when requested, can function as staff to the Gaming Facility Board, Location Board.
Excellent. Thank you.
You're welcome. The Commission has the authority to designate a chair from among sitting board members. No such designation has occurred, thus the board should select one member to act as the presiding officer for the purposes of this meeting. Gentlemen, would you like to select a presiding officer for the purposes of this meeting?
I'd like to, Stu, I'd like to nominate Paul Francis to preside over this meeting.
Uh-oh. We're no longer bilateral.
Stuart?
Let's just break up a little bit.
We've got a little bit of little breaking up here, but I wanted to nominate, if you can still hear me. I see you're a little frozen there, but if you can, I'd like to nominate Paul Francis to preside over this meeting.
Go to the iPad.
Technology is not working for us all of a sudden.
No. We have backups.
All of a sudden, it was the mention of your name that just threw things into disarray, Paul.
There you go.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you a little.
All right.
Can we reestablish the link?
Yeah, we're going to reestablish the link. Just please stand by.
Hang on for a second. We're going to reestablish the link again. Hey, happens.
It does indeed. It's hard enough with just conference calls.
I have to tell you, it's amazing. I was in, I forget, someone's office a couple of years ago, maybe a year and a half ago in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
They have a room that's set up
Yeah.
for conference calls.
Yeah.
But it's so visual, and it's like the curvature of the table, everything is,
Yeah.
it looks like you're in the room with the person. It's amazing. It really is just astonishing.
Yeah.
And there was some miscommunication of where the meeting would be. We wound up, they were like, well, we'll do this telephonically. We'll hook you in video, with the video. And it was stunning. It was literally, almost.
This, unfortunately, is not.
No, not quite.
Is that any better, or are we freezing up again? That doesn't look like it. We're doing so good.
Go to plan 2.
Stuart?
All right, just one moment. Stuart, are you able to hear us?
Yes.
There we go. Okay. As long as we can hear you, we can see you.
Still not.
We have a bit of latency. I wonder if we wouldn't be better off
Open a cellular communication.
opening a cell phone.
Yep.
And if it's a little bit behind visually.
Yes, I'll
Correct.
take care of that right now.
Hang on for 1 minute. We're just trying to work something out.
I want you to call this number and put a phone in front of Mr. Rabinowitz. Here, I'm going to do it right now. Okay, put this right in front of President Rabinowitz, please, and mute your end. Or mute the iPad.
And he's moving.
Yep.
Stuart, can you hear us?
Hold on 1 second.
Sure.
Hello?
Can you hear us now?
Hello?
Yes, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you.
That's all we have.
That's as long as we got.
Okay, what we're going to do, you're still, just so you know, we're listening to you and we're able to communicate with you on the phone.
And we see
And
you.
Even though we can still see you on the visual. It's a slightly delayed signal, but we can communicate this
Okay,
way.
I can see you too.
Okay, excellent.
And I can see myself. And what I said last time was I totally endorse the motion that was made, and I suggest that Paul lead this meeting by acclamation.
Okay,
Works for me.
thank you.
Mr. Francis.
All right. Well, New York State Racing Parimutuel Wagering and Breeding Law, Section 1306.9 authorizes the Gaming Facility Location Board to promulgate rules and regulations it deems necessary to carry out its responsibilities. And to that end, the board will from time to time promulgate rules and rule amendments pursuant to the State Administrative Procedure Act. Today's meeting has a single purpose: to adopt regulations and documents necessary to permit the Gaming Facility Location Board to release the commercial casino gaming request for application. Rob, you call the first item?
Yes, sir. Racing Parimutuel Wagering and Breeding Law, Section 1006.4 requires the board to set a gaming facility licensing fee. As fees, the State Administrative Procedures Act at Section 102(2)(a)(I) requires the promulgation of rules to effectuate such. Additionally, we need to establish hearing procedures, which also requires rulemaking. Emergency rulemaking is necessary to allow the Gaming Facility Location Board to issue the RFA today. Therefore, for the board's consideration is a proposed emergency rulemaking which contains a determination of Zone 2 commercial license fees by region and rules that will govern hearing procedures.
Okay, members of the board, do you have any questions about this this technical provision of emergency rulemaking? And if not, would someone make a motion to adopt the emergency rulemaking provision?
Moved.
And seconded?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. The motion carries. Rob, will you please move on to the next item?
Certainly. Commission staff, acting for and on behalf of the board, has diligently worked with board members and the Gaming Advisory Services consultant to develop a request for application document that satisfies the statutory requirements and requires potential applicants to provide documentation and materials necessary to afford the board with an ability to evaluate projects and determine the appropriate responses to forward to the Commission for casino license evaluation. That document, the RFA, is now before you for action.
Okay. Now, Rob, all of the commissioners and board members have reviewed this document, have had some comments for staff. I think for the public record, it would be useful if you would, at a high level, go through the RFA section by section and just identify what the major provisions are of the
Sure.
document.
Basically, the RFA is divided into a number of component areas. Right now, it's 13 component areas, or it is 13 component areas. The first is an overview, which lays out the schedule certain procurement lobbying restrictions, permissible contacts, walks through the questions and inquiries period that we'll be undertaking, the mandatory applicant conference, and a bunch of other little elements that are really kind of a necessary overall global view. The second main section is application instructions, which basically walks you through exactly how we would like the RFA responses to come back to us. Obviously, we have a format and a structure that we're interested in so that it makes it easier for us to be able to compare apples to apples as we go through what we anticipate to be a number of responsive applications.
Bob?
Yes, sir.
I have a question for you. We have a member of the public and a member of the press here in Massachusetts, and he cannot hear what you're saying about this because...
Okay, I'll move the phone right... Sure.
So you have any suggestions so that he can hear?
Oh, that's right.
Watching the web stream.
Is it possible that
They can pick the web stream up.
they can pick the web stream up? If not, is it possible to put your phone on speaker as well? We see you're holding it up to your ear.
That's a question. Do we not put it on here? Okay, hold on.
We trust future meetings will be smoother. Unfortunately, Mr. Rabinowitz was out of town.
No, understand that. That's fine.
Here's now.
Yes. Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
And can
you hear me?
We hear you very clearly.
hear you well. And can the others hear us?
So could you begin again, Bob?
I can certainly walk through where I'd been already, if that's appropriate.
On the key points.
Okay, on the key points, again, as I'd mentioned, there are 13 provisions of the RFA here. The first one, I guess walking through very, very quickly
Very,
at
very high
the
level,
beginning,
yes.
there's an initial requirement of local support. If that is not evidenced, your application will not be received. We then segue into a definition section that helps drive some of the definitions and the phrases, terms that are used later in the document. The third major element is an overview of the process itself. It basically walks through the schedule and some restrictions that there are on lobbying and procurement lobbying, walks through the question and answer period in the applicant's conference, and what's going to be undertaken in the process of backgrounding. It also talks about some of the clarification processes and just general pro forma type language that's necessary in this type of a released document. The next major element is where we left off, and that's the application's instructions. This basically is to ensure that everyone provides a like-kind document for the ease of ability of you members to be able to compare and contrast the responses to each of the individual questions that are asked here. So we have an official submission format that we want. We're also looking for public presentations. What we would like, as you guys have directed, we want public participation in two different manners. The first is for each of the bidders to come in after the bids are received and to go through at a relatively high level exactly what their proposal is, so that every one of the members has an understanding of how the different elements fit together and a cohesiveness of their approach to the entire process. We're also looking to hold a public hearing in each one of the different zones to try to reflect what the local members and the local communities are interested in it. There's also going to be public disclosure of this material. We are going to post as much as we can that is not trade secrets up on the web so that everyone can take a look at it and they can also follow along and make certain decisions as we do as well. And then the next major element of this is really the applicant information, which is Section 6. This basically walks through and asks about the business formation itself, how it's constructed, who owns it, what the organization, who are the people that are directors and officers, what are the ownership interests, what are your regional and host municipalities that you're seeking to locate a gaming facility, what kind of conflicts of interest might you have, do you have any contracts with the state of New York, have you selected a casino manager, and then also providing us all the organizational documents so that we can really start that process of examining who is actually applying for this. The next element is Section 7, which walks through the evaluation criteria. And this basically tracks what the statute says. It's the 70, 20, 10% factors that was required by the state legislature. First is the 70% on economic development activity and business development factors. Second is the local impact inciting factors, that's worth 20%, and the workforce enhancement factors, which are worth 10. This basically outlines what those factors are and explains the different things that are in statute that require your attention as you do the evaluation. As to the actual RFA itself, it really commences with Section 8, which is the economic activity and business development. Here we have it divided into a number of different factors, first being finance and capital structure. We talk about the capital investment that's going to be required. At this moment in time, we have not identified the capital investment, but we will be doing that within 10 days of the bidders conference so that we can better analyze the market in the regions that we're looking at. This also will explain what is to be contained in an applicant minimal capital investment, requires some pro forma financial information, a 5-year business plan, capital and financing structure, where you're getting your money and under what terms, and then also requires submission of a variety of other information for each of the applicants, including financial statements, audit reports, U.S. and Securities Exchange Commission filings, if applicable, documentation of financial suitability, and also some elements related to your activity, legal actions, bankruptcy, breach of contracts, etc. We also in this location ask for licenses that are held in other jurisdictions and also some illustration of additional financial commitments for further building. The next element under that provision is economics. Here we're looking for market analysis and also how you're going to develop your program itself. Player database and loyalty programs, studies and reports that have been undertaken, what the projected tax revenues are to the state, how you integrate with regional economic plans that are out there right now, whether you're using New York State subcontractors and suppliers. We want an employee definition as well. Who are you hiring? Who do you project to hire? Where do they come from? We're also looking at the competitive environment and how you operate within that competitive environment. We're looking for the marketing plans, also a potential of a supplemental tax payment. As you all recollect, the statute says that a licensing fee is set, which is what you guys have done and what was done with the Gaming Commission earlier today. But it also specifically says that any bidder can exceed that baseline if they feel that their presentation needs, or if the market requires some differentiation amongst other bidders. And then there's the licensing fee as well. Actually, the licensing fee is what I was talking about. The next major element is on land construction and design. And here we want to talk about we want the applicants to talk about the land itself, the ownership of the land, how it fits in with present zoning, how it fits in with a master plan and building. What's the design and layout? How does the casino look? What it contained in the casino itself? A hotel. What does the hotel look like, and how does that integrate with the facility? What kind of meeting and convention facilities you might have? Entertainment venues that you have on site as well, and then going into non-gaming amenities and the quality of the amenities. Here we also are looking for the hours of operation, how your back-of-house areas are set up, what kind of parking infrastructure you're going to have, and how does that relate, the parking and the expected demand for transportation in the region itself. We're also looking for different project firms that will be utilized, a construction budget, a timeline for construction, some very significant information on construction jobs, and what gaming vendors you anticipate using if you have made that determination at this point. Also, pursuant to statute, we are interested in your internal control and security system. The next major element of the RFA is the local impact inciting factors. Here what we want to look at is not just that threshold question that you have moved the bar enough simply to afford your application to be reviewed, But we need to do an assessment of local support. This includes local and regional municipalities, the counties that are surrounding there, the businesses, the chambers of commerce, and other community groups, religious groups, and other community organizations as well. Here we're also looking for information on the mitigation of impact to host communities and nearby municipalities, the impact or potential on housing, and the impact potential on school populations that might result as an increase of employment is concentrated in a particular locale. Also within this section, we're looking for regional and tourism attractions, how you partner with local businesses, your partnership with live entertainment venues, how the local business communities are being integrated, and whether you have any local agreements. And if there are there any cross-marketing agreements on a regional tourism basis? The next element is on workforce enhancement factors. Here, the first is to measure how you are addressing problem gambling. And this is right out of the statute. It refers and requests some information related to on-site resources for problem gambling signage, how you identify problem gamblers, self-exclusion policies, treatment and prevention policies and programs that you might in place, and historical efforts for those companies that have been in the casino industry before against problem gambling. Workforce development is also a significant factor here. Here we want to know about your human resources practices. We want to know whether you have certain goals in mind for women and minority-owned businesses. We'd like you to address your affirmative action plan. Job opportunities for training the unemployed. We also are interested in your experience in hiring unemployed, what labor or organized labor contracts you have, and then again, pursuant to the statute, need to address an element of labor harmony that is specifically required within the enabling legislation. Next in this element here relates to sustainability and resource management, which includes traffic mitigation, and that's kind of what I talked about before. It actually bleeds into a couple of locations. LEED certification, energy efficient equipment, stormwater and water conservation, renewable energy, things of that nature, your energy consumption and how you'll actually look at your energy utilization. The last elements of this, the RFA, basically just have post-licensing responsibilities. This is to identify to each of the members, the individuals that will be applying, and see that they understand very cleanly what they are going to be required to do if they are awarded a license. Lastly, we include a list of required exhibits because there is a tremendous amount of material that's going to be adhered and created in an exhibit form. And we want to make sure that nobody misses anything on that. And then we close with a few attachments that are necessary for the process itself.
Well, thank you, Rob. That's a very good overview. When will the RFA itself be put online?
We can put that online today.
Okay, thank you. Well, with that, are there any questions about the RFA?
Not really. The only and one thing that we had talked about was making an addition and strengthening the component pertaining to minority and women-owned businesses.
Okay.
And I think that it would make sense. We talked about that. We'll be able to put that up in the next few days also, or make that addition.
There's no doubt. There's also an ability in the process, in a general sense, to make revisions to the RFA as we find. I mean, we've worked all very hard on this document in the last couple of weeks, but there may be certain sections that we have omitted, or certain sections that we may want to enhance or draw additional attention to, and that we have that ability to. We will also be posting any of that information online as we do that.
Correct.
Okay, good.
Thank you.
I just want to add, which is probably been said, maybe I didn't hear it, that I want to emphasize the importance of boards information being not just thorough and fair, of course, but as open and transparent as possible. Above all, we need the public to understand that this is a process that is completely on the merits and completely in accordance with the statutory prescriptions and all rules and regulations. And all of us have discussed that time and time again in our context. And to thoroughly going over the various drafts of the RFP until we get to one that we're voting on now, which has always been an important fact.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. It is a very transparent process. With that, doesn't our decision or our recommendations aren't they supported by conclusions and findings?
That is
So
correct.
that our reasoning, the end result of our reasoning will be public and why we reach those conclusions as well.
That is correct. That's an unusual element of an RFA or an RFP process where the determinations will have to be made upon a written record and written findings. That is a major element that will illustrate exactly how the decisions were made.
right. And again, except for confidential commercial information, the applications themselves will be public.
Which is novel, which is something I think that the public wants to see. How the decisions are going to be made. So I just, it's something I've continued to applaud. It's really well done.
Good. If there are no further questions, is there a motion to approve the RFA?
I make that motion.
Second?
Second,
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. And the motion carries. Rob, will you call the next item?
Yes, sir. As you're all aware, the Commission staff has been working on a variety of forms that are necessary to appropriately investigate the applicants. These forms include a gaming facility license application form, a multi-jurisdictional personal history disclosure form, and a New York supplement form, which includes questions relevant to New York investigators that are not otherwise included in the multi-jurisdictional form. These forms have been developed with the input of the Gaming Advisory Services Consultant, Commission staff, and the New York State Police. I want to advise that earlier this afternoon, the New York State Gaming Commission adopted these forms by rule.
And are there any questions on the forms? Again, they require a great deal of disclosure about the applicants. The $1 million application fee supports a thorough investigation. And with that, unless there are other questions, do I have a motion to adopt the forms?
Motion to adopt. Do we have a second?
Second?
second,
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Okay. Rob, you call the final item?
Yes, sir. The New York Department of State requires that an individual appropriately designated to take action on behalf of the authority, board, commission, or public benefit corporation sign any rulemaking submission. In this instance, the board should designate an individual to make these submissions.
Okay. Do I have a nomination for such a duty?
I have a feeling you're the person. I'd like to nominate Paul Francis.
Oh, there you go. That's right. So, yes, I'm happy to.
I second.
Happy to accept that.
Happily nominate you.
Lost myself for a moment. Okay, so I'd like to indicate now that for purposes of the RFA, the board is now in the restricted period, as the commission said earlier on its behalf. All individuals who are interested in discussion of the RFA should contact Gail Thorpe or Stacy Relation at the Gaming Commission's Contract Administration Unit. And I'm aware that their contact information is explicitly listed in the RFA. Will it be also identifiable on the website?
Yes, it will be, very prominently.
Okay, Robin, just for clarification, for public clarification, what does that mean?
Okay, I'm going to kick this over to Ed Burns to talk about. He's done a little looking into this.
Sure. This enabling legislation for the casino siting process explicitly incorporates provisions of the state finance law known as the procurement lobbying law. And the basic gist of it is simple. Any potential applicant or applicant through this competitive process must only communicate with the board or the commission through the designated points of contact. And any attempt to try to influence any of you as board members or even contact you about the substance of their proposals is strictly forbidden and could result in the disqualification of an application.
So right now, people are prohibited from reaching out in any form or fashion to any of the members of the commission.
That's correct. The sole point of contact should be the points of contact indicated in the RFA itself and on the commission's website.
Okay.
Could not be more clear. Thank you. Okay. So that concludes today's published agenda. Do either of the board members have any other items they would like to present for consideration?
The only thing I'd like to mention is, giving the staff and giving Rob, you guys have done a great job, and Paul, the work in going through and putting together the RFA has been very well done. And it has been very involved, very focused, and, as I said, a great collaboration. So I'd just like to make that mention.
Very, very gracious. I second that. With regard to the staff, did a great job on a complex process.
We've had some great staff to work with.
If there are no other comments or questions, then the meeting of the board is adjourned.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Stuart, take care.